Welcome back to the Barry Charles Footy Show, your one-stop shop for everything rugby league. In this episode, we're going to talk about the Canberra Raiders. Yes, folks, the Canberra Raiders. Can they do it? Can they go to their next level and be a premiership threat in 2024? Or have they lost a little bit of experience that they are going to struggle with in 2024? Well, you're going to find out right here, right now, at the Barry Charles Footy Show. Let's get to it. Let's have a look at the Canberra Raiders season ahead. Well, Canberra Raiders snuck into the top 8. Um, really was a bit of an up and down season, and then they had that Jack Wighton biting incident to finish the season, which was not good for Raiders fans. Knights kept on the march till they had to take on the Warriors in week 2. So the Canberra Raiders, even though they snuck into the top 8, was a disappointing finish, but probably where they deserved to finish, to be honest. Yes, they have lost Jack Wighton. They have lost Jared Croker, so that's over nearly 500 and something games worth of experience. Very hard to see. And with KOX being their main signing, there's they've signed Morgan Smithy as well, but nothing major gains for the season. So the squad, you can argue, is maybe weaker in 2024. So Canberra Raiders fans need something. Let's have a look at the Canberra Raiders squad, because I've got question marks all over this team where they need to find some strength in numbers. Let's have a look at the Canberra Raiders taking top 17 in my opinion. Well, Canberra Raiders, since letting Nicole Clockstad go, they are struggling to find a fullback. And where do they go? Well, that is probably one of the big questions if they're going to be any show this season. The Canberra Raiders, is they've got to figure out who's going to be their fullback. Do they go with Ricky Stuart, who all the talkers he is a gun? Do they take the risk on him? Do they stick with Sebastian Chris, who they sort of stopped at the end of the season and put Jordan Rapana in? Do you put Xavier Savage there? So many if, buts, and maybes for the Canberra Raiders in terms of that position and a lot of the squad, but especially in the back line. But I'm going for Xavier Savage here. Speed to boon. He was going to be the player last year. He got injured. Give him the game. I think he's just going to put him in. Whether he plays there or on the wing, I'm not. And him and Chevy Stewart swap around. No problem for me. So that's why I put Chevy Stewart on the wing with Jordan Rapana. I think Matt Tomoka and Sebastian Chris picked themselves in the centres. I think that's the way they should go, even though you could argue for Albert Hopewati and the likes here. Nick Kotrick is on in my team, but I think Nick Kotrick has probably had his chance at being a top line player, hasn't really gone to the next level, unfortunately, but a handy backup player. Number 6, KOX. That's where the talk is, folks. KOX will be playing number 6. And I have no question marks around that. With Fogarty at 7, he's got to stay on the field. Very crucial for the Raiders if they're going to have any chance this season. He needs to be playing long term. But the forward pack is where you can get a little bit excited about each and every year with the Raiders. Four-way solid. Josh Papali'i and Joseph Tapane, dogs. Zach Wolford, there's a Raider through and through. Elliot Whitehead, Hudson Young. And I put Zach Hostings in front of Corey Horsburgh, but you could easily swap them two around. But Zach Hostings being a late signing for the Raiders, very handy pickup for sure. Tom Starling always been a handy bench player, but he could start as well. Atam Mariota, I thought he had a good season, deserves to get in that game. Corey Horsburgh and Morgan Smithy for me to make up the bench, which leaves out the likes of Nick Kotrick, Ethan Strange, Albert Hopewati, Simi Sagi, and Ethan Strange and a few others. Corey, obviously question marks are around Corey Nowhere Howard. What's happening there? It's sad to see that. It looks like he's going to be medically retired, but obviously he's trying his best to try and continue playing football. I understand that you've got to try for as long as you can, but I think it's going to come a time that they're going to say you can't play rugby league anymore. But they've done that with Timothy Martin, and he come back a couple of years later, so potential there. just have a good rest out of the game. He could be back next season, but it'd just be interesting to see how that one figures out, because that's another player on their roster that they could be signing someone else if he wasn't playing. So the Canberra Raiders in 2024, where do I see them? Wow. I think there's too many question marks to me to say they're going to do anything in this premiership this season. Who the fullback's going to be, and then who's going to be on the wing. Who is KO Weeks to answer at 6? Would Jamal Fogarty handle the whole season? Have they got the talent in their bench to really tackle the top teams? There was a lot of questions over the Canberra Raiders. And to me, that's they can make the 8, but more than likely they're going to miss. But I know the Canberra Raiders every single year, very much like the Storm and the Dolphins now. You know they're going to turn up every week. They might not always win, but most of the time you know they're going to turn up. They might have a bad game in them, the Raiders, at times, but most of the time you know they're going to have a dig. Whether or not they win the game, doesn't matter. But yeah, so I see them being a chance of making the top 8, as they always seem to be, but I just think they're going to miss out in 2024. And my biggest reasoning is Fogarty is injury prone. He has to play the whole season, and he needs help, and I don't know if he's going to get the help that he needs. They're going to need someone to turn up. If Ricky Stuart's the man at fullback, or Xavier Savage, one of those players are going to have to go to another level. The forward pack, the starting forward pack anyway, is very good. Whether the bench can continue on has always been a little bit of an issue. Especially in the Raiders, their depth is getting a bit question mark, and losing Jack Wighton and Croker, I lost a bit of experience in the leadership there for the Canberra Raiders folks. So I've got question marks over the Canberra Raiders really pushing to improve from last season. I think they'll be lucky to make the 8 and probably digress in 2024. But the forward pack is good. Whether Sack Wolford and Tom Starling are the answers, though, I've just got a question mark over that. That's probably what they need. They probably need to sign a hooker going forward to be the next superstar player. They could do with either a fullback or a 5'8". That's probably where they're looking to sign for next season to really put them up. But for the season coming up, I just think they're going to miss the 8. I just think they lost too much experience. They haven't added enough experience to really... Zach Hoskins a good signing, but KO Weeks potentially could be a good signing, but not in the ilk to take on the likes of the Penrith and the other top teams. For me, so Canberra Raiders, for me, top 8 at best. I'm probably going to finish below that. Going to be an interesting season to see how they go. But to me, they're just not going to make the top 8. Well, anyway, that is the Barry Charles Footy Show for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. There's going to be plenty more of these videos coming up. So next up on this list is the 7th place Sydney City Roosters, who had a very much up and down year in 2023. Can they bounce back in 2024? You'll find out in the next episode. Have an awesome day out there.